Arab. He is more Arab than the Arabs. He's black when he wants to be black, when it's his convenience. But in this series, this man is more Arab than the Arabs. You have to know some African history to know the game he's playing. But if you don't know African history, you don't know his omissions. You don't know his omissions about Ethiopia. You don't know he's left out Bilal. He's left out Zayd bin Harith. If you don't know anything about the Ethiopian period of Islam, when Ethiopia saved Islam, then when you leave it out, you don't know it because you didn't know that there was a period when Ethiopia saved Islam. But if you read the Encyclopedia of Islam, the Encyclopedia of Islam said that Bilal was a slave, Zayd bin Harith was a slave. The Encyclopedia of Islam on this point is wrong. Bilal was a lawyer for that day. Zayd bin Harith was a military man. They were both Ethiopians. Why Ethiopians? Why did his rich wife choose 2 tutors for him, both Ethiopians? Now you got to look at Ethiopian history. Why the fascination for Ethiopia? When the Prophet was born, half of Arabia was an Ethiopian colony. But if you haven't studied black imperialism, you don't know this. There was a time when Africans ruled nations and dominated nations. But you never read Baldwin's Prehistoric Nations or Drusilla Dungy Houston's work, recently reissued, on the wonderful world of the Cushite Ethiopians. The second chapter, Chancellor Williams' work, The Destruction of Black Civilization, dealing with the southern African origins of Egypt. Look how much you have to know. Now, in his 4th stanza, the 4th session, which was really one of the better ones, dealing with exploitation, he dealt with it pretty well. He opens by downgrading the Western slave trade by 12 million people. Du Bois, in the end of the 19th century, said it was from 60 to 100 million people. The documentation has proven since then that it was at least twice that much. Then the other documentations on the Arab slave trade in a work called Slave Trade in the Indian Ocean prove that one period 35 million Africans were taken out. Then he said there's only 2 million Africans in the Arabian Peninsula. And he asked, where are those Africans? He's safe because most people don't know where are those Africans. Adam Roy, who's known me for 30 years, wouldn't dare stand before me and ask that question. Because I got an answer. I know where the Africans went who are not in the Arabian Peninsula. A lot of them went to India to perform the armies for the Maharajas. A lot of them went to Asia, different parts of Asia. Some went to China. And when the Portuguese came around to East Africa, the Arabs formed a partnership with the Portuguese. And the Portuguese and the Arabs got together, the Omani Arabs, and Al-Mazrui is an Omani Arab. The Omani Arabs established Zanzibar and made Zanzibar the largest slave trading force in the world. And if you look at the magnolia trees at Zanzibar, each tree represents an African who made the mistake of looking at one of the harem women of the Arabs, because if an African looked at one of the harem women, they'd cut his head off and they'd bury his body and they would plant a magnolia tree over his body. Every magnolia tree at Zanzibar represented an African who made the horrible mistake of looking at one of those women. If you look at Basil Davison's work, A History of East Africa, look in the index and look at the word Mazaroi. You'll find some information on his family. Now, he wouldn't ask me any question, what happened to those Africans? And there's only 2 million in the Arabian Peninsula now. See, he's whitewashing the Arab side of the slave trade. Now, when the meeting was called by UNESCO on slave trade in the Indian Ocean, they invited 50 Arab scholars. Not one showed up. They don't want to deal with it. And the African who is a Muslim don't want to deal with it. And those who are Muslim in this country don't even know about it and don't want to be told about it. Because they think when they left Christianity, they joined a pure thing that is without fault. I'm not saying leave it. Stay with it. Stay with whatsoever you want to stay with. But realize all Western-oriented religions are faulty. All Western-oriented religions were in the slave trade one way or the other, one time or the other. And all religions that said that God endorsed slavery are liars and hypocrites. No religion and no God ever approved of anybody enslaving anybody. The Quran, and if you doubt it, you can take a copy here and find the passage, says that you can beat your wife, but you have to beat her with a stick only so long. The stick cannot be too large, but you can beat her. And when you go back to the laws of Hammurabi, 2000 BC, from Babylonia, now you can see the origin of some of this. This is supposed to be the first civilized law. Hammurabi said that slavery is a good thing. It's all right to have a slave, but you got to have some humanity about it. You've got to give him a day off. Give him a day off, it's all right. We need to read more of other people's history and more of our history. And if we had read more history, we might understand the damage that the series is doing, and understand also that he is playing the role of a con man. Con man gives you through a few flattering things to get you into the trap before he robs you and makes the robbery looks palatable to you until you wake up and realize that you have been had. I don't know where he's going the rest of the series. I don't even know where he's going tonight. And this series will get more exposure than any educational series ever. It's on tonight, it'll be on Sunday, and it's on cable sometime during the week. So if you miss it tonight, don't worry, it'll be on Sunday. Why it's getting all this exposure? Somebody wants this message out there. Who wants that particular message out there? Who has the reason? Let's study its backers. Why the National Endowment for the Arts, an American, your money was behind it. That's only $650,000. It cost about $5 million. The rest came from the Annenberg Trust.